4. Go, 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 go!
Nice. Very nice. Front to back. Leader's garment. Quite happy.
It's alright, isn't it? Looks pretty good in that bad boy.
Excellent, I think the word you're looking for is... Look at that thing. Looks beautiful, done. Beautiful.
Welcome back to the OTB podcast and into our hot seat this week. We've got New Zealand. I'd call him a mountain bike legend, Conor MacFarlane. He's kind of done a bit of everything. Got a pretty interesting backstory. So welcome to the podcast, Conor.
Cheers. No, thanks for having me. Not sure about legends. I feel you got to be a bit older for that.
No, you're well on your way, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I've been doing a bit of biking over the years.
Yeah, you've been involved in a few different disciplines in your time.
Yeah. No, it's good. Keeps it interesting. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
I think I get a bit bored. So.
No, I can agree with that for sure. So, I mean, for those of you, everyone that's listening probably does know who you are, but obviously, one of the best free riders, obviously, to ever come out of New Zealand, alongside the legendary Magazza, of course. But you've got a pretty interesting backstory. Like, it's funny. It wasn't until a few years ago that I pieced together that we actually went to World Champs at the same time.
Yeah,
so
and
you've got
O'Shea's probably.
Yeah, no doubt.
Good
I'd say
though,
that would have
yeah.
been in there too, from racing cross country. So before we get into that side, you grew up in Invercargill, is that right?
Yeah, so I spent most of my childhood in Invercargill. I was actually born in the Isle of Lewis off Scotland. I was a mistake, and Mum and Dad just happened to be living there at the time. And I don't actually remember anything from there, but I lived there for like a year or whatever, and then moved to Mount Cook for a couple of years. I remember a few things from there, and then moved down to Invercargill, and sort of grew up there until I left to go to Dunedin for a couple of years.
Yeah. So I didn't actually realise that you were born in Scotland, so that's pretty interesting. Obviously pretty early years for you, but
Yeah, I mean, Dad's a Kiwi, so I call myself a Kiwi. We just sort of happened to be living there at the time.
Fair enough. So what got you into riding? That obviously would have started in Invercargill, I imagine.
Yeah, so I mean, Dad took me out a few times, and then it was really my neighbour Matt Reed. He sort of really got me into it and got me hooked on it, and it went from there. I mean, I used to always bike to school and stuff, but never really, did anything more than that until my neighbour sort of got me more into it.
I reckon that could be the backstory for like every mountain biker in New Zealand.
Quite possibly, the older person next door. Just I guess you watch them and you're like, oh, that's pretty sick. See them doing some jumps or something or wheelies. And
yeah, we used to ride these. There was like this park that we'd ride through on the way to school, and there was just these chutes in it, and that's what I thought like downhill was. Just these 3 second long chutes, and one of my mates was like, "You got to come do a race," and that's where that all kicked off from, because we'd just muck around on the way to school and just wreck our bikes and everything, just trying to ride them down and through the bush. So I think it's pretty common, that one.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of Kiwis, or definitely back in our days growing up, it was just the thing to do was bike to school, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was your bit of freedom. I think it was your bit of escape, like just that bit of freedom on the way to and from school to go and do something and kick around for a bit.
Yeah, be hooligans.
So then, but you mainly got into cross country racing for a start. So that's where it all began, or
that's what it normally looks like. I always jumped and downhill first, and then again my neighbour convinced me to do a cross country race, and I did quite well. So that's why I kind of went down that route for a bit. I enjoyed it for sure, but the training not so much. The racing, absolutely loved.
Yeah.
But so I got real into that, and then the jumping and downhilling kind of took a back seat because I was training, a couple of hours every day, like when I got proper serious with it.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I don't know, I'd be out for a big road ride or something with mates, or say the night before, they'd be like, yo, can we come, ride your jumps in your backyard? I was like, yeah, sweet, no worries, I'll try to be back. And I go out for the big road ride, and then try to get back in time, and then, most of the time they'd be gone by the time I got back. And yeah, it's sort of little things like that just crept into cross country, which made me want to stop it. So if
Yeah.
Indian jumping wasn't there, like I reckon I would have done XC for way longer. But
But yeah, just I guess if like you said, you had jumps in your backyard, so that you'd always just have that right in your face as well of like, oh man, missing out.
yeah, and especially when your mates were like, letting you know they're going to ride something or whatever, and you're just like, yeah, I just kind of, I don't know, just got to, loved cross country, but got to a point where that was sort of dragging me back to where I started, I guess. But
Yeah,
it was such a good background for me to have that skill because I was never the fastest up a hill.
yeah,
The fitness wasn't my best side. The best side, the thing that I had was the technical side, which kind of helped me back
yeah,
then. So, but then a lot of cross country back then was, as you probably know, full drive track. So,
yeah. Some of it was pretty
yeah,
basic back then.
just with a little bit of token bit of single track in there. So
Yeah,
that probably didn't help either. But yeah,
nah, fair enough. So I know like you raced 2007 Fort William World Champs that was obviously as a junior, I imagine.
yeah, that was first year junior actually. Yeah,
First year junior. So
yeah,
I was, yeah, I was that was my second year of elite racing downhill there. And it's,
yeah,
I mean, like it's funny, like at that time, it's like cross country and downhill was just so separated. Like I don't remember you from there at all. And it
yeah.
was like a long time later before I would like put two and two
Put
together
it
that
together.
like, holy shit, Connor actually used to race XC and we're in the same place. Like,
Yeah, it's because I obviously did downhill as well, and so
yeah,
I knew who you were, I knew who all the downhillers were. I was just like, but I was just this Alexi guy, wearing lycra in the background,
yeah,
looking to, yeah, and
it's
I
so
just,
funny how separated that stuff was back then. It was like, I don't know, it was just two different worlds almost, but we were just like came together every now and then for races like that.
yeah, just the one off. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, so how is that kind of like towards the end of the XC racing, or is
yeah.
that kind of where
So
you're getting pretty burnt out on it?
yeah, I got back from Worlds, and so I still had a year left in juniors.
Yeah.
And I was like, sweet, you got the first year, you kind of learnt the basics and what it's like and everything. And then, yeah, I got home, had a break for like, I don't know what it was, a couple of weeks or a month or two, whatever. And then got back into training for National Series. And I went training for 3 weeks. And I remember I was out training one day. And obviously, this has been mulling over in my mind for a bit.
Yeah.
But I got back from training one day and I was just like to mum, I'm done. I'm sick of it. And that was it.
It's
End of,
it's
end of cross country.
it's pretty formative years for you around that age too, right? Because it's like if you're like 16, 17 or whatever, and you're already putting in like big hours of training in that, and you're missing out on, you're watching your mates go dirt jumping or whatever. It's like it's that time when it can just really all just crumble. You see so many people. I mean, obviously you stuck around riding, but you see so many people just come and go by that age.
Yeah, I think that is kind of that, people, girls, cars,
Yeah,
alcohol, right, all
it
that.
all creeps in.
Yeah, and that, I guess that came in a little bit for me. I'd never partied really,
Yeah,
and, because I was obviously training, and then so gave that up, and then, partying was a thing I could actually do. But then I just, wanted that time to jump and do downhill, really. That's sort of what it came down to.
yeah. I guess that's the cool thing that you had other, like it was just another form of riding that you still were into, but yeah, you didn't just like hang a bike
Full
up
drop
obviously and
out.
disappear.
Yeah, yeah. Because like you're saying, I've got so many mates that gave up because of, whatever, girls, cars, partying.
Yeah,
And then, like, 5-10 years down the track, they're like, man, I don't know why I gave up. Like, it was, it was a good thing. And it's like, yeah, it's like you can do both, or you can do all of them.
yeah, yeah.
Obviously, cars,
You
whatever,
just got to
bikes,
get some
a lot of
balance.
money, but yeah, you just got to get the right balance. And yeah,
It's funny now, like the amount of people since I moved back to Nelson that I bumped into that I went to school with and they're all into mountain biking now. And like back when we were at school, I was one of the like, 10 or so weirdos who was racing mountain bikes, and now they're all just like, fuck, it's so good.
now they're loving it. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
all just, it's funny how much it's all come around and it's become like the cool, it's a cool thing to do now.
yeah. It's so mainstream now, eh? Well, I'm
Yeah.
exactly the same, eh? Like people at school that would, never touched a bike, and then now they're like frothing on it, and telling you
Yeah.
about how they're learning this, and they've done this track and that track, and yeah, it's kind of cool to see it grow into what it is.
Yeah. It's definitely come around a lot.
Mm.
So then obviously, I mean, like we mentioned, freeride became, I don't know, like, I don't know if you like the term freeride. Freeride seems, I don't know, it seems a bit pigeonholed to me. Like, I mean, you're still just a mountain biker. Like, I've seen you at
Yeah.
enduro races and downhill races and whatever, but it's like, I guess that side of things, you know, like the actual like tricks and everything like that. So that just kind of naturally progressed from there, and
Yeah, so the obviously, the dirt jumping and the downhilling,
yeah,
I really liked dirt jumping. I love doing tricks, love being in the air, and I enjoy downhilling as well. The jumping side's definitely the side I enjoy more, but I kind of just, I guess, morph them together. And
yeah,
I was, moved up to Queenstown and had Mini Dream in my backyard and Dream Track. So it's kind of like,
and a
I guess
huge
that's,
crew of people riding that sort of stuff there too. So I guess it's just kind of natural progression
yeah,
that was pushing.
exactly. That's the way it went. With Gorge Roads, I still did dirt jumps, but then like, I don't know, I just sort of gravitated more towards enjoying the bigger stuff. And
Yeah,
I go back now to dirt jump or small jumps, and I struggle to do tricks. Like if I don't have air time, I just
yeah,
can't. I probably did more tricks, 10 years ago on small jumps than I can now because I could do big tricks on small jumps, whereas I don't know.
yeah.
Just
Like
now,
this stuff,
I
I
can't.
don't have
Yeah,
enough time in the air anymore. What's
yeah,
going on here?
exactly. So now it just morphed into what it is, and I think like obviously Kelly being in Queenstown as well, and that's sort of what he did as well.
Yeah,
It kind of I don't know, kind of took the same path almost. Did a bit of slope style and then kind of dropped off. I didn't like purposefully not do slope styles. It just had like opportunities come up. I remember the
yeah,
first year I stopped doing slope styles. The one of the big Colorado freeride fest and some other slope style, maybe Highland, that I used to always go to. I had a trip to Japan
yeah,
instead, and I was like, well, I'm not going to say no to a free trip to Japan, am I? So
yeah.
like,
No
and
way.
then every year there's just something like that that's sort of gone away, and then I was so out of touch by the end of it that I was
Yeah,
like, well, I'll just continue being a downhill dirt jump guy, freeride
just a
guy,
just a guy that rides bikes.
guy that rides bikes. Yeah.
What was your first like slope style competition?
Jeez, I mean, Farm Jam was always my first
Ah,
dirt
yeah,
jump comp, I
yeah. Forgot
guess.
about Farm Jam being around back then.
Yeah, so I mean, I used to go to that when it was Southern Freeriders.
Yeah,
So it was like before it was even that was like it was like around Christmas time, and it was on like 3 tables they had down the bottom, um, and then yeah, I guess that was sort of where I cut my teeth as far as contests for dirt jumping go. And there was like heaps of good small ones around New Zealand,
yeah,
but I don't know what my first proper slope style would be. Probably might have even been Colorado, or I could have been Teva slope style even potentially.
yeah. I remember that one.
Don't know when that
What about
started.
the
That was
one in?
me.
Did you ever do the one in Queenstown? Like that was in the car park?
Yeah, that's the yeah, oh, yeah,
Or
the
was that
Teva one.
the
Yeah,
Tiva one? Yeah,
yeah. There was one. There were ones overseas as well, but the one in the car
yeah,
park there. So that
yeah.
could have been the first potentially. That's
So
pretty
just
sick.
kind of grew. So how many years do you reckon you did like slope style competitions for? Because I feel like I
Oh,
remember you like doing them for a while, but stuff merges together, so it might have only been like a few years.
yeah, I was probably like 4 years, maybe
Yeah,
5. Yeah, because I started when I was in Dunners. I remember I had, I think I did 2 years study and then took a year off and just went overseas and did some slope styles then. And then the next year, I also I took I went away in the middle of studying for a bit, for like a month or two and did slope styles. But then I think I might have done the Teva the year before that, so that probably would have been my first.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's yeah, it'd be like I guess it would be pretty cool when you're at that point, like just buggering off to go. Like I mean, it's kind of the same as like what I was doing with racing, but yeah, probably a bit more casual and loose, going off to do slope style stuff and kind of out
yeah.
for a good time.
I'd say it's probably like it's pretty hard. Like to do a downhill season, you gotta you kind of have to buy a van or like you gotta have a
Yeah,
way of getting around, and you don't just go for like 2 races normally. You go for a whole
yeah, you want to
series, or
make the
so it's
most
like
of it.
kind of it's pretty expensive. But I mean, I just went to the States, which is it is cheaper than going to Europe for sure.
Yeah,
And so like you can spend. I think my first season I did in Whistler was I spent $7,000 all up. That was flights, accommodation, food. That was flying to 2 slope styles, insurance, like everything.
holy shit, that's
But
impressive. That is a
on an
shoestring.
absolute I mean, we like when I say accommodation, didn't really pay much for that because
Yeah,
there's ways you can like I stay in staff housing, but there's ways you can work around
Yeah, there's
not
always
paying
some
as
some
much for the slow
loopholes,
stuff
and
and stuff. So it's like, yeah, but you do it on a shoestring, and I feel it's a little bit easier than the whole downhill sort
yeah,
of, cutting your teeth that way. So
yeah. No, I can definitely remember some of the shoestring moments too. I remember staying with mates that were in Whistler in their like grotty house that they were living in, sleeping on a mattress, sharing a mattress with someone else in the living room, and eating curry for breakfast that one of my mates would bring home from his job of where he did dishes at like one of the Indian restaurants.
yeah, hey, the cheaper the better.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do at that time.
Exactly. Kiwis are good at it, I think. So you kind
Yeah.
of, when you're spending that much money to get over there, you kind of have to make your money go as far as possible.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. And then, I mean, obviously you kind of like transitioned a bit, like you said, you kind of stopped with the slope style stuff, but then you do like you've done some pretty fucking cool video parts in that. So is that kind of like, I guess that's probably more of like a lot more fun because you can really like kind of put your creativity into what you want it to like show up as and everything.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's nowadays, that's what I enjoy the most. And like,
Yeah,
say, in a contest run, they're like, you have to drop now, basically.
yeah,
And you're like, well, it's windy, or I'm not in the right zone, or,
mm,
like mentally I'm not there, or whatever. Whereas video stuff, you're like, oh, I don't feel like it today, I won't do it. And I have had, some pretty big things in videos that I've had to come back to because I've been like, no, I'm just not feeling it today. I just can't bring myself to do it. And then, but
yeah.
that's sweet. You just come back, next week or whatever, and you're all
Tick it
good.
off.
Yeah. And then like, you get to film what you want as well. So like,
Yeah,
I love being in the hills anyway, just as, just exploring or camping or whatever.
I mean, I think your social media kind of leads to that. Like, you've got a pretty sweet truck set up with a rooftop, like tent and everything on it. So I can definitely pick
For
that up.
exploring. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so that's all part of, you know, I go into the middle of nowhere and I'll find something that I'm like, man, that'd be cool. You could ride that or build that there or whatever. And then, so I get to ride what I want because I get to,
yeah,
build it. I enjoy digging. So that's like another positive, So you're just digging, building something cool anyway. And then, so it all kind of works as one big package, You're
yeah,
doing a film, which you kind of, if you're not doing events, you kind of have to do something to get noticed to keep your sponsors happy. And
yeah, for
then
sure.
I like digging, so that helps with filming, and then I like being in the middle of nowhere, like exploring, so that helps with digging and finding lines. So it all
You're
just
happy
kind of
just to
works out.
go knock the whole thing out yourself.
Yeah,
When will
yeah.
we see like a self edit? You just explore, dig, film it yourself.
So
Do the whole thing.
I have, I yeah, I have actually considered that. I sort of talked with one of my sponsors about it, but I'm a pretty terrible filmer. But maybe someday I think
Yes.
that would be more like a mission orientated film where I just go
Yeah,
and put myself in the hurt box on a big like bike packing screen mission or something or other.
yeah. Go
But
find some cool stuff.
yeah, someday hopefully.
What's been your favorite? Have you got a favorite like video that you've done? Is there one that
Probably,
stands out?
yeah, Conor for Rampage, just because,
That's a classic.
yeah, because it got me into Rampage
Yeah,
basically. And it's always good working with Tim Pierce, as you would
yeah,
know.
yeah. Good
Um,
dude.
yeah, so he did an awesome job, and it's also got probably the feature that I'm most stoked on in any of my videos. I don't know what it is vertically. It's about 42 foot on the angle drop, but it's almost vert. You go out about
You've
6 foot
you've
probably.
flipped it from.
Nah, I just did
Oh,
it dead straight, but it was on the cover of Spoke,
that's right.
and it was just
I feel like I
like
remember you
for me
flipping
it
something
was
big like that,
massive.
but
So yeah, that's kind of what I'm most stoked on video wise. So
we'll have
yeah,
to we'll have to put a link to that on the social media. So if anyone hasn't seen it, they can pick it up,
so
get a
see
few more views on it.
some old school Connor hacking.
Yeah,
That was probably, what was that, 3 6 probably 7 years ago now, I'd say.
yeah. Time
A while
flies though.
ago.
It probably doesn't feel
Yeah.
like that long ago.
Nah, it doesn't really. Sort of still kind of doing the same sort of thing, but
Yeah, that's actually a good segue. And so, you did two rampages or
the
just
three.
three?
Yeah.
And so, what was I mean, that first time there must have been a hell of an experience.
Yeah, so first time I went to the venue where Paul Bass, it was the year Paul Bass broke his back.
Oh yeah,
And that was obviously, that was the second year they had it there. So I was coming in and everyone already built their lines. And so that was back when, like, it's better now, but back then it was known to be terrible coming in as a second year, especially as a new guy that no one really knows,
Yeah.
and trying to find a line. And it was so hard to find somewhere where you could actually ride without someone, you know,
Yeah. I guess
telling you to
everything
try
good
everything.
is already well and truly taken. And if you
Yeah,
don't know anyone, like you can't really, hard
yeah,
to find
pretty
someone
much.
to link up with and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I definitely struggled on that front, finding the line that I want. Like I found a kind of line that was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and I'll just ride that, jump in that, and then like you talk to the riders, and they're like, no way, man. And you're like, oh,
So is
bugger.
there actually like, is there, quite I've always wondered that because like there seems like there's a few people that will like team up on features and that sort of thing, but I imagine there's a fair bit of like hostility of like, no, this is my line, like keep off it sort of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of the other years were definitely better than that. Like after
Yeah.
that year, they had a big thing being like, come on, guys, like you can't be, you got to sort this out. This is getting
Yeah.
ridiculous. And then the other years were good, but there's still guys that are a bit weird about that.
Yeah.
Whereas I like, if someone wants to ride your line, it's like, sweet,
Yeah.
no, like, what's the issue? Like, if you're confident enough in your skills, you'll beat them anyway. So,
Yeah, exactly. So how did that first year go?
I was one place off qualifying, I think. So that was back when they had like 32 riders and
Ah, yeah.
only
Yep.
20 got in or whatever it
Yeah.
was, which is pretty gnarly to have to go there and try and qualify. Like,
Yeah, you're putting a lot on the line to like not
yeah,
even make
just
it
for
through to the.
yeah, so that was that was all good. Like I walked away all good, but yeah, it was a bit like, I was definitely a bit gutted to not get
Yeah.
in the main show because I had I had stuff that I didn't do in my quali run that I could have done in my finals.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking back, obviously should have done it in my quali run, but
Did you take people over to dig with you?
I were a few of the boys that I live with in Whistler came and helped. So
Ah, yeah.
Nick Deathridge,
Yeah.
DT, Dan Truin, and actually a guy named Alan Mindell from the States came and helped me. I'd done a few slopes. I was with him back in the day, and he was
Ah,
telling me
okay.
to dig there.
Yeah.
And then we were allowed 4 diggers, and those were the only friends I had sort of over there that were keen to dig or available. And so I took Rebecca as well, and
Yeah.
my partner, and she helped dig. So
Nice.
she was technically team manager, but team manager was allowed to dig as well.
Ah,
So
yeah.
um,
Do Red Bull like or like Rampage? Do you get any like financial support or anything for having people there, or like is
yeah,
I've always wondered that with Rampage.
yeah. So you get, I don't know what it is now, but you get 5,000 US,
Ah,
which
yeah.
helps out of that. Red Dog.
Wow.
Oh,
Welcome to the show, Red Dog.
still
G'day.
in technical difficulties.
There he
How you
is.
going?
He's overcome his technical difficulties and he's come in late.
I have. My computer decided to update at a really unopportune time.
That's the worst. Well,
Sorry. My
that's
apologies.
all right. We're up into we've kind of talked the background. We're up into Connor's first Rampage, so you're right into the thick of it in the Rampage side of
perfect.
things.
Yeah,
Perfect.
good stuff. But yeah, no. So they do help you out. You get 5,000. You probably get more now, but
Yeah.
you blow through $5,000 pretty
Oh,
fast, as you can imagine. So
yeah, you'd probably blow through that for like just being there without taking in flights or anything like
well,
that.
yeah, and there's ACOM food, and like you eat. I mean, they provide lunch for you because you're on site, but
Yeah,
you eat a lot of food every morning and dinner and evening because you're obviously doing pretty big days.
you
So,
must. Yeah, I was going to say you must put in some serious hours of like digging up there.
yeah, you are like so cooked by the
Yeah.
end. Because like you do 4 days of digging, pretty much sun up to sundown, and that's the whole crew. And then you get one rest day, and then actually I don't know if we got a rest day the first year we were there. Definitely got rest days the second 2 years I was there, but and then you do another 4 days of digging where you're allowed to ride as well.
Ah,
And so you
yeah.
kind of got to like taper off the digging. Like obviously your
Yeah.
diggers still go hard, but you've got to taper
Start
off the digging.
recovering a bit.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a balance. I guess you kind of try ride in the mornings when it's not as windy, not as hot. Dig during the day, ride in the evenings again, sort of thing. But
Is it?
yeah, it's your
I
hands.
guess it depends on the site, but like when you're the ones you've been at, has the wind kind of been consistent? Like is it blowing from one direction or is it just like pretty random or?
I actually can't really remember direction wise. I do remember, like, so before the sun's up, it's all good.
Yeah,
When the sun comes up, it's horrendous because obviously all the heating of the air just
yeah,
like creates big currents, which is probably all over the show, I imagine, or probably uphill, I guess.
yeah,
And then around 10 o'clock, it does normally drop off wind wise. Like if it's gonna be a non-windy day, it'll drop off sort of around
yeah,
10ish. Yeah, but wind is always in it. Like freeride events and wind just go
yeah.
hand in
I
hand.
was
Eh?
wondering if you ever like, let's try and like avoid building a jump, this direction because
Side
of the
on
wind
or
or anything like
yeah,
that, or
nah. Kind of,
just kind of,
well, the smart person probably would, but
yeah, you just got to build what you can get, I guess.
yeah, pretty much. You find something cool. And that's the other hard thing is picking a line.
Yeah,
Like so, they do have time where they're like, right, this is the dig, this is the scoping time, and you kind of scope. They're like, you allowed, you can scope from 7 till 1 o'clock, whatever, on the first day. No digging allowed. But everyone always starts digging in that time, and then so you feel like you should start digging, but you shouldn't really. You should spend your time and find the right line.
yeah. I
Which
guess then you start stressing, going, well, fuck, if I don't get into it, someone else will get what I want. Or
yeah, yeah. So it's kind of. I think from what I've heard though, they've actually made it so you can't. I think they've made it a whole different day, maybe, or something, or like half a day before you're actually allowed to dig. So like, because it's a completely separate day, you can't actually dig, which I think is a way better idea.
there
So
must be so much like unwritten etiquette that goes on with that sort of stuff at those events. It'd be like a road race, just shit that you don't even know about that like
yeah, yeah,
goes
yeah.
on.
That you can and can't do, or should and shouldn't do, but some
Yeah.
people probably do.
Oh
What
man.
what does a typical day, say one of those dig days, Connor? What does it look like? Like what kind of hours are you pulling? What time do you get up? What time do you go to bed? That sort of stuff.
So we stayed in Hurricane, which I think's about 45 or half an hour away, maybe from the zone, or 45 minutes away by the time you go down the full drive track to get there. So I guess you're probably up at like 5:30, breakfast, drive to the venue, try be there by 7ish, and then on the tools, like hiking up straight, like pretty much, when it's first light, you're trying to
Yeah.
hike up. Definitely the first few days, and then you kind of sleep in a little bit the next few days when you're cooked, but and then you dig until midday. Probably try and have like an hour or something rest and lunch in the middle of the day just to kind of rehydrate and all that and just chill out for a bit, and then back into it until sundown basically, and then back home, fit as much food in there as you can and go back to sleep and
Go
do it
again.
again the next day. It's like seriously brutal. It's
Yeah, it sounds like it.
yeah, I would like to go back as a digger and not have to like worry about trying to ride later in the week.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
hammer your body and it's all good.
Yeah, because are you slowly building stuff, and so you're stressing your body by building all week, and at the same time probably shitting yourself as it gets built. Like,
Yeah,
oh damn.
I've got to do this. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But then the whole, you know, building a feature and testing it, it's like it's such a hectic environment, as you can imagine, with everyone
Mm.
just building massive stuff that like like a 40-foot gap, you're just like, oh yeah, whatever, boom. You know,
Yeah.
big stuff is so normal there that you don't really, you're not as worried about it. Whereas if I was doing like a 40-foot gap, in the middle of like somewhere down the road here that I built for a video, I'd be way more nervous about it. But at Rampage, you're like, right, no, I'm here to do a job. We've built this. There's way bigger stuff around me. Like, this isn't even the scariest part. So you're kind of like, you warm up on like stuff that would normally be big, but because you're there, it's not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
The scale of it all. It
Yeah,
just like scales everything down.
yeah, it's completely different. So
Do you reckon it's got overbuilt? Like, do you think there's too much building going on?
yeah, I would like this. I guess this is a bit of a very personalized sort of thing, but I would
Yeah.
like to see Rampage a bit more raw. I understand like it's way better for the viewers to have it like it is with massive jumps and big tricks, which you kind of have to have the manicured takeoffs and landings and
Yeah.
everything. But it kind of like there's riders there that aren't great bike handlers, if you know what I mean. Like they're awesome at jumping,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
give them a Rudy Rocky downhill track and no idea what they're doing. So
Yeah. So, like, I mean, because obviously I'm we're old enough that we remember like the first Rampages and that, which you look at them now and they just look ridiculous. Like you see some of that footage and it's so funny. Like, but I do miss that more natural element of it, and
Yeah.
not like it just kind of looks like slope features everywhere down the hill now, and there's dudes riding single crown, damn near slope. They're obviously not full on slope bikes, but like
Yeah.
just a bit bigger travel slope bike, and you're kind of like, it's lost that feel a little bit, I think.
What is? Yeah, I mean, my favorite person that I've ever watched at Rampage is Faircloth, because his
Yeah,
run, he's obviously got the downhill style, but he's
Yeah.
also got the tricks, and his lines are always super tech, like
he did
big
some cool
jumps,
stuff.
tricks. Yeah, so that's what I like. But I
Like
don't
his
know.
jump, that one, like one of the last ones he did, where he jumped up onto that big rock and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
dropped off that huge just standalone rock. Like that's
yeah,
probably one of the ones, like one of the things that has stood out to me in the last, handful of years or whatever that I actually remember from it.
yeah. I mean, that's that run there where he did that, and he flipped that canyon gap to like the
Yeah,
Yeah.
tiniest landing straight into an uphill. Like that to me is like one of the most memorable things of Rampage for me. I don't know, one of my favorite runs of all time. I mean, you know, not the best run I remember, but it's
yeah,
like my favorite run to watch. So
yeah. I
I
do
would like
like
to see more of
when
that.
you get some of those guys in there and they still like, they try and go kind of fast and almost not race it, but they still try and push it a little bit, and you can see like
Yeah,
they're actually working for it, not just like lining up kind of trick after trick,
trick
which
to
obviously,
trick.
like you say, for the casual viewers and the fans and that, like that's what they want to see. But I'm almost like ban the single crown, so there's no tail whips, like like no bar spins, no tail whips.
I don't mind the I don't mind the single crown. I mean, as you've probably seen, I ride a lot of single crown bikes,
Yeah,
like as my jump
Mm.
bike. I mean, if someone's going to do a 50-foot jump and you know, they're going to do it anyway. So I'm like, well, sweet. If you want to do a flip bar spin over or flip one hand X upper instead of a flip 1 foot can, I mean, I'm fine with that. So
yeah, yeah.
as
Fair
long as it
enough.
doesn't hold you back, I'm like,
Yeah.
sweet as. So, but I can see, yeah, I kind of see both sides of it. So I
Yeah.
would like it more natural, put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. Like just looking at this year, I was like, "Holy shit!" There is a lot of like full manicured,
Oh,
big berms and
yeah.
huge takeoffs, and
There's pretty much like, it seems like there's a little bit up the top of everyone's run that's not manicured, and that's kind of it.
yeah,
Mm.
And then a bit at the bottom where they like run out of, where it's like too flat to build anything and they kind of run out of time anyway. So.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny how boring it gets at the bottom. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, you're watching them for like 30 seconds just kind of roll through, and you're
Yeah.
like,
Like
they should
pedaling
just
up
move.
hills sometimes and
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
they should just move the finish corral in a little bit closer.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess maybe the people on the far, like on the outsides,
Yeah,
can't get there. I don't know. Yeah,
Need to
but
come
I know what you mean. It
across
looks
and
pretty
yeah.
bad sometimes. People just cross country to the finish. Eh?
put your dropper post up, roll
Yeah,
it in.
What do you remember about like your runs that you did, Connor? Like, do you remember
I
how it felt? And
I remember my first year there. I just remember my first run, got to the bottom, and I was just pumped to get to the bottom just to stick a run. And then I was like, sweet, I'll do something just a little bit better to get in, because that's all I need to do is a little bit better. And I did something a little bit better, but then I crashed on something silly that I can do every day. And that's, so I was like, obviously pretty bummed that, I kind of, I thought I should probably have been in there, and I could have if I'd done what I knew I could do, but that's all part of it. And then my other ones, I just remember crashing and burning, really.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were pretty beaten up for one of them,
oh,
weren't
there
you?
was
I
one of them that was
remember
gnarly.
you with like, your face is all plastered up,
I was
and
cooked, eh? Nah, I hope nowadays they do it better, but I was fully concussed after my first run, my second year. So actually, I crashed in practice in my second year and broke my wrist, and didn't know it. Like, I went to the hospital, and everything, and everyone was like, "Nah, you're sweet." So I just kept going, taped it up, and just put up with the pain. And then I crashed in my first run and whacked my head, but like I thought I was all good. I'd never I didn't know anything about concussions. I'd never had a head knock or anything. And like I should have been more educated on it, but I wasn't.
I
And
think we all went through that phase though.
yeah,
At that point, everyone's got that story.
yeah, they're not knowing until they unfortunately know through a bad experience. But
Yeah,
yeah, and we didn't do any like concussion tests beforehand, so like they could like base back to that. which like Crankworks and stuff do now through Ewan. But yeah, and so I kind of got to the bottom. They did their checks, and they're like, "Yeah, you're all good." And I was just like sitting there, like so beaten up, like like stitches in my eye, and my wrist was buggered, and I was just sore in general. And I was sitting there talking to Rebecca, and Rebecca was like, "You probably shouldn't go back up." And I was like, "Yeah, I probably shouldn't," but no one's actually told me I shouldn't go up. And then I still didn't really know what I was doing. And then the lady, I called her camp mum, she like just looked after all of us. She's like, "Oh, your bike's up the top. Not she's like, you don't have to go up. It's just up there if you want it." I was like, "Oh, yeah, sweet." And I was like, "Well, my bike's up there. I might as well go up." And I went up. And when I dropped in, and not even a big drop, and I literally just fell sideways in the air. And
Fuck.
like, because my balance was just so cooked. I
Yeah.
know. And then just had this other huge rag, and it was like at the very top. So there's like massive cliffs everywhere. And thankfully, like they had nets on them and stuff, so it would have been all good. But thankfully, I didn't go off them. And then yeah, like cut my elbow open and like smashed my face. And I was just I was in a bad state after that one. I couldn't even sit up in bed the next morning. Like
Jesus.
Rebecca had to like
Oh my god.
lift me up. So my muscles were just so sore. I should have been in an
Holy
ice
shit.
bath straight away. But that's probably my main memory from that year. Is just
You
being
live and you learn from those
beaten
ones,
up,
eh?
mate. Yeah, exactly. I learned a lot. So
Was that the year? And I think it's actually on the, not that the people listening to this can see, but I think it's on the wall in the
oh
background. You got
yeah,
the Magaza Award.
yeah, it is actually
Yep,
sitting
there
there.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that year. So I mean, I thought the McGaz Award would go to someone that like Kelly was just the nicest dude, and I
Yeah.
thought that would go to like someone that was just like real nice to everyone. Not saying that I'm
Are
not
you
being
saying you're not a nice guy, Connor?
but no, you know what I mean. Like I feel I got it for just beating myself up and keeping on going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, nonetheless, I was pretty honoured and stoked to get it. So
Yeah, it's awesome. And
especially
that was
when
the first one, wasn't it?
that was
First
the
time.
first one. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I was like just sitting in the tent after it was prize giving. I was just like so beaten up. I wasn't even standing up and watching it. I was just sitting down. Like I could see it from where I was sitting, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're like, McGazza, Spirit Award, Conor MacFarlane. I was like, what the heck? And I was like, oh no, I might have been at the medics actually, I think. Getting checked out or something. And so, yeah, someone was like, oh, Conor, you gotta go. And I'm like, yeah, went up. I think I might have, was that a sling or something? I don't know. I was, but that was pretty cool though. Pretty
Yeah.
stoked to come home
That'd be
with that.
pretty awesome, especially because, like you kind of said earlier, it was a dude that you sort of like, you followed in his footsteps in a sense.
Yeah,
You
and he
know.
definitely helped me, get to where I am and go the route that I went in biking. So it's
Yeah.
pretty,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty sick thing to have. Saying I'll always cheer is probably my favorite biking memorabilia I've got. That
Yeah. No, he was a pretty special dude, so I could see why that would be
Absolutely.
pretty cool.
yeah. No,
I
pretty
still
stoked.
remember him doing front flips on a 20-inch BMX when I was a kid at the
Oh,
at
nice.
the BMX track in
Nice to do.
Nelson.
Oh,
He
nice
was
to
like,
do.
he must have
Yeah.
been one of the first people doing front flips like around that time,
Yeah, didn't he do
especially without
front
a
ends before
doubt in New
backies or
Zealand.
something?
He was, oh no, he was doing, yeah, I think he was. It took
Okay,
him,
or-
I think it took him way longer to do backflips.
Yeah. I can't believe he used to ride a BMX. He's such a big dude.
Oh
Yeah.
my
A small
god.
bike, eh?
I've got a picture of him around somewhere. I think it might be on my phone from a downhill, like the first downhill race I ever did, and he's on an Avanti Moto, and it would be, like a size extra small in today's sizing, and he's like 6'5" or something, however tall he was.
Yeah,
He just looks ridiculous on it.
yeah. All those old bikes, the sizing now you jump on them is so whack, eh?
Yeah, no, it's tiny, that's for sure. So you that was your second? Was that your second time at Rampage when you
That
beat
was my
yourself
second
to?
one.
And
Yeah.
then how'd the third one go? Was it third time lucky? Did that go better or
No, it didn't really go much better, to be honest.
same
I
same?
yeah, I had learnt, like we were saying, I learnt my lesson knocking my head in the second one, and I knocked my head in practice. On the third one, I was like, right, I'm not making that mistake again. And so I was just like, I'm not doing this. Like,
Yeah,
I was like,
you got smart.
there's so much more to life than throwing yourself off cliffs.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
after I hit my head, obviously, I looked into it, and there's so many terrible stories about people just
Yeah,
not being with it when they're older because of head knocks. So I've always
Nah,
been
there's
pretty cautious of that since then. So I was like, it's just not worth it.
some pretty serious horror stories around from that sort of stuff, for
Yeah.
sure.
So
Um,
that was it.
yeah, it's funny that it takes you a long time to realize that like there's going to be another bike event or another bike race. Like this one's not the be all and end all. Like, yeah,
When you say that, like I legitly thought I was like, is this the end of my bike career? You know, if I don't go back to Rampage, like
yeah,
not that I didn't want to go back. I just didn't. That was the last year I got invited.
yeah,
Probably because I screwed it up massively 2 years in a row. But yeah, I was like legitly like, sponsor's not going to want to sponsor you anymore because you're not, doing that. And then like it took me a year or two to realize, oh, it's actually fine. Like
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
do that to, continue
Not
being
it.
sponsored. But
Not everything's hinging on that one event.
yeah, exactly. But it's sort of, I was still pretty young and sort of thought that's what you need to do. And yeah, but you don't have to. It's all good.
Yeah. It's funny, like, looking at Rampage this year, I was just thinking about it. I'm like, there's so many guys still doing it that have been around, for like,
Yeah.
10, 12 years, like,
Yeah.
still there. It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, to throw like, and especially some of them that are the gnarliest dogs there,
Mm.
doing all the like Zing, doing all the stuff he's done at Rampage over the years, and to keep coming back
And the
and
stuff
doing
that
it,
he still does, like, I can't believe some
insane.
of the shit that Zinc still goes for. It's
Yeah,
nuts.
yeah. I mean, sure, I could try rip a backy off a 40-foot drop nowadays, but I'm not going to.
You
Like,
don't want to.
nah, I'm like if I crash, like I'm older and wiser. I think more about it now. I'm like, if I crash, I'm going to get seriously worked, and
Yeah.
you know. But
You
he's
just
just
wonder, like,
obviously got that thing that blocks it out, and I mean, fair
is
play.
he just going to be like the most crippled old man? Like, just, he's
Yeah, I
said
don't
some
know, probably.
huge
I
stuff.
mean, it's like Pastrana. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
he's
obviously chilling a bit
nailed.
more now, but dude, he got so gnarly until he was like, I don't know what age, but old enough to most people wouldn't be getting gnarly.
Yeah. Nah, it's yeah, I mean I love watching it, but that stuff, yeah, I don't know how they keep coming back for it.
Nah, jeez.
It's like,
Yeah,
do you think they're almost like they're chasing it, like they're still just looking for something that they haven't managed to get or something, or like,
yeah, I don't know, because like, I mean, you know, Zink was saying this. He's like, because he had to go. He wanted to do the Oakley Cinder without the wood on it
yeah,
this year, but he didn't have the
Mhm.
speed for it. He's like, so I knew I didn't have a winning line. So he's obviously like still going there for the win.
yeah, he's
Which,
winning mentality.
I mean, to be honest, if he did that Oakley Cinder without, and he probably would have flipped it or something stupid.
Yeah,
But like, that could have been a run right up there. So he still knows it's possible, I guess, and so does some of those other dudes that have been there for ages. They know they can get podiums or do well. So I guess
yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
keeps bringing them back, and they
Like
probably enjoy it.
Kyle Straight's crash this year. Jesus
Oh,
Christ,
that was
that was
Oh,
brutal.
disgusting. Disgusting.
very gnarly. Not a nice one to watch
Nah,
at all.
Hey,
And
here's
he's a
another
dude
guy. Like these guys have
He's a-
families and stuff now.
he's a
It's
lifer.
insane.
Yeah.
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 I think he was literally at like one of the very first ones, like as like a 13-year-old.
Yeah, he was like, just crept out of the womb pretty much, hadn't he? I think.
Yeah, madness.
Yeah.
So you've kind of changed tact a bit, and you've been doing some judging at Crankworks. Like for is that
Yeah.
have you just done slope style, or have you done like speed and style as well? And
Yeah, so you do speed and style and slope style. I guess if they're flying someone there, so they fly there,
Yeah.
put you up, which is great.
makes sense.
Get you to do both, and it sort of came about. Emerson Wilkin,
Yeah.
he got
Yep.
approached about doing a judging clinic, and if there was anyone else in New Zealand that might be interested, and he put my name forward, and I was like, oh yeah, why not? Give it a go. And it was always something I said I didn't want to do. Like when I was slopestyle, I was like, I'd hate to be a judge. That'd be such a terrible job. And I'm still, still don't really enjoy it that much. I enjoy it when I'm happy with the placings, but I really don't like it when I'm not happy with the placings. And I get like after Crankworks Rotorua, I wasn't really happy with the placings there, and I just couldn't even go on social for like a week afterwards because I hated seeing all the slopestyle boys posts.
Oh no way.
Like none of them complain about it, but
Yeah.
I think placing should have been different.
What makes you unhappy with them? Like that they're not how you thought they should be placed, but like overall, that's how they ended up being placed. Like,
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there's 5 judges,
yeah,
and I mean, I judge stuff, and because you don't get much time, and there's a lot like they're like on your back, like we need to score now, we need to score now, and so you don't get as much time as you necessarily want, and then whether it's the 5 judges averaged out isn't what I think it should be, or whether I make a mistake because I don't have enough time to look at it properly.
Yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, overall, I enjoy it. I enjoy when it goes right, and the scores are fair and what I think they are. I mean, the actual score itself doesn't matter; it's just the placing. But
mm.
Are you
yeah,
guys discussing this like riders' scores as you're scoring them, or is it kind of all just in your own little bubble and you're putting your score together and the person over there is putting their score in and that sort of thing? Or
no, we definitely discuss it with each other. Like, yeah, we don't like say what we're scoring them as such,
yeah,
but we're like, oh, I'm comparing, this guy's run to this guy's run, or like to see if they're above and
yeah,
below that. And then if you're like, oh, he's actually above that guy, then you're like, well, okay, I'm going to compare him to so and so, and you're kind of like talking
Mm.
about that, and you're like, well, actually, you'd be like, do you see the foot slip there, or
it's
you
got to
know,
be a bit of a downside for a rider to be riding early. Then I guess in that case, because you're judging quite blindly compared
yeah,
to what you've seen.
it is. I mean,
Like, I
we
mean, I
watch
guess you've got a
practice.
baseline, but
Yeah,
you still kind of don't
we
know.
watch practice to try and get a baseline, but yeah, at the same time, like obviously we try and not make it like that, but I think
Yeah,
subconsciously it is a bit of a disadvantage, like
yeah,
a tiny disadvantage. But then like
yeah,
if your run's good enough, that won't actually matter, but
yeah,
it might bring the whole scores down. So like someone
Yeah,
might only the top score might be a 93 instead of a 98, or
yeah,
not that the scores matter in the slightest. It's
yeah.
all placings,
Weird.
but like
relative.
yeah, so.
And
But something different to do.
it must be quite hard because you've got some guys who are just like robots and who look like they're from a video game, and don't wear a peak, and then you've got other guys who have like the most ridiculous fluid style, but all these massive tricks as well. And I guess it's like finding that balance of kind of the trick and the style and everything.
Yeah, I mean, so they know what we're judging on.
Yeah,
There's like trick difficulty and execution and fluidity and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so I guess they can kind of look at that and be like, I need to work on this or work on that. But there is, like you say, all those different styles, and then there's the
yeah,
very bar spinny sort of style or tail whippy style.
Yeah,
yeah,
There's the big rotation style. There's so it's and then there's like off the bike tricks and on like so some people will just do say a three, a flip, a bar, and a whip, and combine those together in different ways.
yeah,
And so there's no like extension anywhere. Whereas if someone does a no hander or a super flip or whatever, there's that extension element as well. So there's a lot to so many different styles to juggle really.
yeah. I would not want to be in your shoes. It sounds it sounds
That's,
awful.
that's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
do you have a favorite? Like out, obviously it won't affect the judging scores, but personally, what's your favorite to see?
I mean, I'm a big fan of big tricks, but if it's not stylish, I want to see something pretty stylish. So, which is kind of where like going back to the judging of speed and style. It's not speed and style; it's speed and stunts or speed and tricks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You get negative points if you do a whip. You know,
yeah,
because so you get time taken off. So they're trying to bring the tricks in there. But yeah, I
Yeah.
like it's like Eric Fedka. He's got massive tricks and he's super stylish as well. So it's like it's kind of like best of both worlds. I mean, and a lot of the riders, if they wanted to do a stylish run, they'd stop doing most of the big tricks.
Yeah.
But it's just that's kind of what scores and that's what brings the viewership in, I guess.
Do you reckon Fedco would have won Cairns if he hadn't blown his tyre out?
I don't know what he wanted to try there.
Yeah.
So
Seemed like he had something big in his pocket that he was waiting for, but
yeah, so he said it was because he doesn't normally do a second run. Like if he's sitting in
really,
second place, or whatever.
he
Yeah, well,
just
quite
goes
often
with it.
he'll be like, "Sweet, that's I did my my banger run
Yeah.
already," and
Yeah.
yeah, he was like, "I was going for it." He's like, "I hardly ever do a second run, and I was going for it." So he obviously had something planned, which maybe he was going to do his 3 down whip to Super C. I don't know, but
fuck it, it's got so
Yeah.
technical. I
Nice.
get so lost. Like I watch, especially the downside whips and that. Like those, I get so confused when that stuff's going on. I'm like, wait, what have they just done here? I have to go back and watch, like rewatch stuff to work it out.
Well, that's kind of one of the reasons why, like, when I say sometimes I don't enjoy judging, the main thing that keeps me, I mean, I've only done it this year, but the one thing that makes me be like, I should keep doing it is I know my tricks
Yeah,
and I know I've ridden slopestyle. I've done, I haven't done all the top level tricks, but I've done the base level tricks all the guys are doing, Say they do a flip double bar, I've done a flip bar or,
yeah,
whatever. Like I've done the basic level and I've done, trick the drops and the step downs. I know what's hard and what's not. And so, and if I don't judge, the way I look at it, if I don't judge, there's a lack of judges out there that have
yeah.
done slope style. So they're trying to get more ex slope styles to do it, which they really need.
Makes sense.
And I'm like, well, if I don't do it, who's going to do it that's done more slope style than me? And at the moment, they haven't been able to get those guys to do it yet. So
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is there anyone, is there anyone judging this year that's kind of like done what you've done or anything, or is it just kind of more?
well, Anton Thielander was there.
Oh
and
yeah,
he's like Red
yeah,
Bull rider.
Yeah.
I remember him.
So he knows what he's on about.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's kind of the one thing that makes me think I should keep doing it. And I mean, I do. When it goes well, I enjoy it. So
and
why
you get
not?
a free trip to Crankworks, and
Yeah,
it's
free
not too
trip.
bad.
Can't complain.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like obviously down under with Cairns and Rotorua.
yeah,
And there's no judges in New Zealand. Well, there wasn't any judges in New Zealand, so they had to fly everyone down under. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys looked at flights this year.
That's
Oh,
Pretty
nuts. Yeah.
obscene pricing. So
it's mental.
yeah, they were pretty keen to have some down under judges. So that's kind of where that came about. And
Well, it
may
costs
as
like
well, prolong that
$3,000
career.
return just to get to Cairns
Oh,
from New Zealand.
Is that what it was for you?
Yeah,
Well, I was 250, I think.
yeah,
It was a
yeah. Mine
Jetstar,
was.
worst airline in the world.
Yeah, I didn't go on Jetstar, mate.
These are terrible. I mean, they're all right, but they're pretty average.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool that you've stepped into that when you haven't obviously really wanted to, but yeah, you definitely bring some credibility to it, I guess, and bring that background to it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's something I think I can help, make it better. And then, like you say, like we were talking about earlier, I'm a Kiwi and I like to, do things on a shoestring. And if I can get free flights and ACOM and a bit of money, well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair
it all
enough.
helps. It's expensive traveling around the world from New Zealand. So,
Did
anything
you
helps.
Absolutely.
did you like the changes to the slopestyle and course and Rotorua this year?
They're interesting.
Yeah,
No, I like the start. The wall ridey feature was the wall ride feature and the one after it. I'm not
didn't
convinced.
seem
The
like they
wall ride
worked
was,
that well.
yeah, the wall ride was. I like Emil did on the wall ride. He barred on, whipped off. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, there wasn't. I think if there's more practice, it might have been better because those features are the features that you have to practice to be good at. Whereas a drop
Yeah.
and a jump, pretty straightforward. You just, do what you always do.
Probably being so wet didn't help either. Like if it was
No.
running faster, it probably would have made life way easier and
Yeah, could have done
added for
bigger
some
tricks
better.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So I like that they're trying to mix it up though because it kind of needs it. So
Yeah, it was kind of looked like it was due for a bit of a refresh, so it was good to see some
Yeah.
new
Yeah,
stuff.
been the
in
same
there.
for quite a while.
yeah, I think they've got more stuff next year as well planned to change. So yeah, which isn't far away now, really, is it?
No.
No, it's only a few
No,
months
not at
away
all.
already.
March. Yeah.
Do the riders like it? Do they like the course?
I think apart from those, well, mainly the little on-off thing after the wall ride. I don't think.
Oh,
they're
right.
a fan
Yeah.
of that, but bar that, I mean, I think top and the bottom they love. They said the step down was like the perfect trick step down, like as far as best they'd ridden. So, and then the last jump was amazing. They got rid of the ramp that used to be there and put a ramp from higher up the course down there. Not that the riders knew that. I don't think. I think the riders thought it was a whole new ramp, but it wasn't. But that was way better, but bit steeper for tricks and yeah. So I think overall, bar that on-off thing, they were pretty into it.
Yeah, that finish works pretty well for the like spectating and everything. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
You see everyone kind of
yeah.
pop out, and you'd see two pretty big jumps in that. So
Yeah,
it does work quite well. So no No, no. It like, do you ever ride them, or like don't really have any interest in it, or
No, I haven't ridden them, but apparently we're allowed to. So I would have ridden Rotorua if I'd been riding.
yeah,
It's still obviously out in my leg. And
Yeah.
then Cairns, I didn't ride because I wasn't really, sure if we're, sort of allowed to or supposed to be. But one of the riders was like, "Why aren't you riding?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't really know if we're supposed to or whatever." And he's like, "Nah, it's all good. Judges, ride. Yeah, 'cause they're like, it's better because then you know what the course is like."
yeah,
Mm.
So yeah, definitely. But then I don't ride hard. Like, dude, I ride my hardtail twice a year maybe. So
yeah,
I'm kind of like, I'd do it on my trail bike or my downhill bike. So
yeah.
Yeah.
if, I mean, speed might not be an issue for some of them, but yeah, hopefully next year we'll get to do a lap or two on one of the courses.
So I always liked when they would throw in like, a couple of different options. There'd be like different lines with different jumps and that. But I imagine from the judging point of view, that would make things way more difficult, or would it just kind of end up pushing people to one feature or the other because they would know what's gonna like they could score better on, or what do you reckon?
It definitely makes it more difficult.
Yeah,
Like say in Cairns they had you could jump onto that whale's tail and do the quarter pipe,
yeah,
and then go back and jump off the whale tail landing, or the not a whale tail I guess, but the step up into the whale taily quarter pipe thing,
yeah,
and then jump back out, or you could jump in, jump out of the quarter pipe onto the dirt landing, or you could just go off the takeoff into the whale tail thing completely to dirt. And so that's like, if you're going from the takeoff to the dirt straight away, that's one jump, whereas you could have got, say two trickable features or whatever
yeah,
potentially. So that gets hard. So they got to do a massive trick, straight to dirt instead of
yeah,
tricking in and then tricking out or whatever. So kind of got to weigh that up. And I mean, riders talk to you about it as well normally and ask you, what will
yeah.
score here and there. So
I
just
guess
give
they
them
would
a vague,
they would
vague
catch on
answer.
to it pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel as a rider, when you ride a course, you just do the best you can do, and maybe you're not good at a left hip transfer thing, so you're
Yeah,
like, sweet, I'll just jump into the whale's tail and back out again. So yeah, I think for them, they kind of know what works for them, and they just kind of do that. And
yeah,
we have to, yeah. It definitely is harder though, for sure.
yeah. It
Judging,
would it would definitely. I can see how that would definitely throw a whole heap of curveballs at the
yeah,
judging side of things.
yeah. That's where like I'm like judging an event like Proving Grounds or Rampage or BMX event or something. It'll be so hard because there's so many different line options.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you just got one or two, it's a lot easier.
Man, that's why I just like racing, because you just go fastest person.
I feel you. I feel you. That's you can't. This thing like you can't. It's if you're not the fastest down,
clock
it's simple.
clock doesn't
Can't
lie.
argue it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I see racing is a lot better.
Yeah. I guess you've always like, I mean, it seems like just about every year there's some sort of controversy at Rampage of, someone got robbed or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, or
But
at Crankworks or whatever. So
yeah,
yeah, you can't. Once you're on the other side of it, like I can see. I feel sorry when judges get that pushed on them, because I'm like, say at Rampage, I watched Rampage and I was like, thought some riders should have done better than they did or whatever. But then I haven't walked the hill. I don't actually
yeah,
know what it's like. It's, yeah, I mean, sure, as judges, you always make mistakes, but, without actually being there and seeing it, and then people that complain, I'm like, well, would you do a better job as well? So like,
yeah,
yeah, having been on this side of it now, I'm like, kind of, I realize a lot more that, and if someone's complaining, especially if it's like a top level rider, then I'm like, there's an easy way to like get in there and help change that.
yeah,
Because
Mm.
you could sort of, not anyone can do it, but if you're a top rider, you could easily just ask it, to do a judging clinic, and not for Rampage or whatever, but for slopestyle or whatever. So
Do you find yourself when you watch like, say, Slope Whistler or something, are you kind of like analyzing the scores that they're getting and being like, oh, nah, like that was like a 95, or that should have been like this, or
yeah, I definitely, yeah, like, yeah, 100%. I'll watch it, and before they even get the scores, I'll be like, oh yeah, I reckon that should be about there. It's like at Proving Grounds when Brett Reeder did his run, and I was like, whatever his score was, I can't remember. I was like, that should be way higher. I was like, no one's going to do a better run than that. Like
Yeah.
even in qualies, I think his score was like 86 or something, and I was like, no one's gonna beat that score. I was like, that's
So
like
they've
his
set the
run.
scores like quite low
Yeah, I was
by
like, his
doing
run's
that.
the best run by far that anyone's gonna do in qualies, and it was. And I was like, yeah. So I was like, surely they go higher than that. But it's like, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the score. It's just the
Still the
placing.
highest score of the best run, but
Yeah. But no, you're always doing it in your head.
well, I don't think I've got too much more. Have you got anything else to add in there, late dog? I mean, red dog.
um, where I guess where do you see slopestyle going? It's changed quite a bit over the years. Like,
Oh, good
what's the
question.
next big thing?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I'd like to see the like trail bike style slope style be bigger. So like bigger courses. I guess the proving ground style thing, bigger
Yeah.
courses.
Yeah,
It's still not obviously the ramp or like the free ride side of it. It's still like kind of dirt jumping, but just bigger or slope style, but with bigger features and bigger
yeah,
bikes. That's what I enjoy. So and
it
those,
looks cool.
yeah, the top
I
boys will
reckon.
start. It's like a meal at proving grounds this year. He'd never. I don't think he'd ever three whipped us down a bike and just turn up at the comp and was like, oh well, I know I can do it. Boom, did it. And then he was just like, he's like, oh, I need to put a longer cable on my bike because I'm running out of, cable for bars and whips and stuff. Because I think he tracked the first drop, which no one had ever done on a big bike before,
Mm.
and then did a few bars or whatever in the three whip. He's like, then if I got a trickster or whatever, like a hydraulic gyro, he's like, then I can do like double whips. And I was like, have you done them before? He's like, nah, but you're able to do it like easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, that side could blow up if those sort of boys start, doing or not focusing more on it, but like spending a bit of time on the big bike and dialing that in.
It would be cool. I'd definitely, yeah, like that kind of like an in between of like a Crankworks and Rampage. Like not as big mountain as Rampage, but not as slope style as Crankworks, but like a
Mm.
good big bike in between.
Not quite as manicured and a bit bigger and some
Kind of
random.
like what the early days of Whistler was when they were
Yeah,
riding like
yeah,
bigger bikes, and yeah, it was a
100%.
bit
Yeah,
rougher.
right.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a bit of a fan of that. I
Yeah,
reckon.
because it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, I guess it's probably like the old, back in our day, walk uphill to school both ways and sort of thing. But it's like I do miss that riding bigger bikes and that. Like I see them riding a slope course all on hardtails, and I'm kind of like, it's just dirt jump competition now, sort of thing, like
Yeah, slightly bigger dirt jumps than they
yeah.
used to be
Yeah.
with a few wooden features here and there. Yeah,
But
I
it's
mean it's super impressive, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean I'm just personally like the big bike stuff a bit more.
yeah.
Even if it's like smaller tricks, I still just enjoy it more for some reason.
It's probably just goes back to like you were saying, riding Dream and Mini Dream and everything, and it's just kind of you just started riding dirt, and that's sort of I guess where your background is too.
Yeah. I mean, as long as people riding bikes having fun,
Exactly.
happy
That's
days, I guess.
that's what we're all about.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Well, I reckon that's probably about good. We've just hit the hour mark. We don't want to, um,
bore
punish
people too
people
much.
too much more. So,
I do have a couple more questions.
yeah, go ahead then if
Seeing
you've
I
got
was
more.
late. Yeah.
Yeah, keep it rolling.
One that's been kicking around a while for me is, if I recall, like remember back to when I was racing downhill and was okay at it, in my prime, and I was probably in my early 20s or whatever. And I remember going to Queenstown and looking at Dream Track, and obviously it's changed quite a lot now. But there's no way I would have hit those jumps, and I still wouldn't hit them today because they're like a two-story house. And I don't recall any of my peers really getting up there and hitting them either. But now, like 10-year-old kids jump them.
Dude,
So,
everyone.
what the hell has happened? Like, how is it all of a sudden that like kids will just be like, "Oh, I'll jump that"?
So two big things. Like jump building has progressed massively, and three things. There: bikes have progressed, and the internet. So
The internet.
yeah, the internet. So
Dot point.
kids see
The
it.
internet.
Yeah, they see it, and they're like, "Well, so and so does it. I can do it." And so they can analyze it, and they can see what's happening in real time, basically. And then I don't know. I guess that's in front of them. They're like, "People are doing these big jumps. Sweet, I'll do it." And then bikes, obviously, you your setup can be so dialed these days with good suspension and all that sort of stuff. And so it's pretty easy to, I don't know. I never really had. Well, I had one bike that was pretty terrible as far as
Yeah.
jumping goes. I had a Rocky Mountain Schlayer. It was actually Richie Schlayer's old bike, but
Yes.
there's nothing
Oh,
wrong with the bike
yes.
itself.
piece of history.
The suspension was so soft, and I couldn't make it harder. I'm sure I could have, but like I didn't have money to buy new springs or whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. You didn't just
Yeah.
pump it up.
So that was like, that was holding me back from jumping when I had that. And then jump building, like old Dream Tracks, like what, 15? It was built 15 years ago, maybe.
Fuck,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Maybe even in the
longer.
rest.
Yeah.
So you're probably more than that now, actually.
Yeah.
And so like, nowadays they had like, it was like, 30 centimeter or 20 centimeter case pads. They were tiny. And
Yeah.
then you were breaking into stuff, and like it was just landings were tiny and takeoffs were tiny. Everything was just like, tiny case pads, tiny landing, tiny takeoff, massive jump.
Yeah.
Like just all that sort of stuff. And then whereas now, like, we try build, minimum 1 meter case pads. The bigger the landing, the better. Big takeoffs, which like look scarier, but they're actually safer than short, sharp ones. And then as well, with so many people hitting them, it's so easy just to be like, oh, yo, like, what speed do I go, or can I follow you in? Or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and it's easy to tell people. You like just go, do 2 pedals, or drop in. As long as you
Yeah.
clear that one, like scrub it a little bit, clear it, no brakes, you'll be sweet for
The
that.
rest are good.
Yeah, so it's like, whereas back in the day, you kind of like, you go in, you do like 2.5 brake taps, and you kind of like,
It's like solving a Rubik's cube on the way in.
yeah, it was a lot harder. So that's probably the main thing I reckon that's made it easier, is jump building has come so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people would just get worked otherwise. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
back
yeah.
in the day, nothing against Nath building. That's just how it was back then.
Oh, absolutely.
They worked fine for people that rode them, but like if you had 10-year-olds hitting them, they'd just be eating it, because they don't have that
Yeah.
experience. So
We'd just go ride Mini Dream on our downhill bikes, and even that seemed big enough.
Yeah, that was
It's
big
like,
enough for me.
We
yeah.
weren't going to go fuck with Big Dream at that point.
yeah, well, I mean, I remember the first year I was here, I was just like, what's his name? Paul Needham.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was there, and he had one of those GT. They had a gearbox in it, was massive.
Oh, the IT1.
IT1.
Horrific.
Like a
horrific
motorbike, and he was riding it, and I was like, "This is amazing! Like, these are the biggest jumps ever!" And I remember being blown away. And there's no way I wouldn't have ridden it for a couple of years. It was just, yeah. But having
That's
it sitting in
crazy.
the backyard, it's kind of, you're going to ride it eventually, aren't you? Really?
Yeah.
I guess so, yeah.
Work
Yeah.
up to it.
Yeah.
Got anything? Got anything
Yeah,
else? Red
one
Dog?
last
more?
one last one. Obviously, Connor, 26-inch national champs is coming up down there in Queenstown next year. It's widely known. If you were going to race and you could race anything, any bike that was 26-inch, obviously, what would it be?
Turn the DHR. Obviously.
Oh, I was going to say DHR.
Oh, yes.
It's
Yeah.
only
Yes.
right.
I would choose the last generation Turner DHR.
The DW one? Or-
Yeah, DW. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I had 2 of them, and they were amazing downhill bikes. But I don't have one. But what I do have is a square tube DHR.
Oh, just as good.
Oh,
Even
damn,
maybe
that's a
more
nice
so.
rig.
Almost, probably more iconic, actually, the
Way
square
more
one.
iconic, yeah, so that was actually
Remote reservoir on that thing?
Yeah, remote
Yeah.
reservoir.
Oh,
I haven't.
incredible.
I still need a fork for it. That's the only. Is a fork. Is there one other thing I need for it?
Someone will have one around.
Yeah, I need a. If anyone's got an old school boxer, let me know.
Or,
Okay.
a nice 888 from that era or something, like a
Yeah,
Mazzocchi
just whatever,
888,
really.
they'd go
It was
right.
the Doggers era. It had to have
Yeah.
a Mazzocchi.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I need some Atom Labs and maybe some wide open brakes, whatever Toyota.
Oh, I don't know if you want to put
Oh,
those on.
yeah,
we
no,
might
no.
just shelve that idea.
Have you
I
got
don't
those
think many of
wide
them
open?
lasted.
No, that'd
Oh,
be
yeah.
well seized up.
Are you boys both racing? I know you've got a bike, Kieran.
I certainly am. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, my intention is to race my V10, obviously, in
Real
Elite, but
racing.
I've been
Yeah,
getting a lot of pressure to bring the Sunday down and race that as well, but I just don't know quite how I'm going to make it work.
Good both. What do you got, Red Dog?
I have a zeroed. I
Ooh.
I splashed out and bought an X wide open zeroed.
Oh,
It's
sweet.
Scalzi's old bike, actually.
Oh, one gentle lady owner.
Yeah, only one. Yep.
There's been a lot of
Oh.
iconic wide open rigs over the years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would
Yeah.
love to, have one of my old, they wide open rigs as well, DHR round tubes.
Did you
There
have
was
the
there was a
green one?
few popped up. Like
Got
there's
a green, green or orange.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was actually a good story about the green one. I landed a jump up signal, snapped a shock, slid into a tree, and it like put a massive dent in the down tube, and just above the bottom bracket.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
so gave it to a mate for pretty much nothing, and then he put a carbon like bash guard over it, so he couldn't see the dent, and sold it on to someone else.
Oh no.
Incredible. Uh,
Jeez.
But I mean, it was still, he rode it for like a year or something like that. I think it was still all good.
Still
so
good.
just
I'd
good
love
for
to
that. It was
know
a
where all those
massive-
bikes have gone.
Yeah, well, there's a few in the woods and Morzine and stuff from what I hear.
Oh,
just
I
been
bet.
just
I
been dumped.
bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
No, they were cool.
we hope to see you on the start line for 26-inch champs then.
I hope so. I
I'm
hope
pretty
so.
sure because I'm not
Yeah,
going to race the real McCoy, so.
It's in your backyard, mate. You'll be able
Yeah.
to. You can race masters, jump in masters, and have some fun.
Geez. I'm old now.
Oh, it's so fun. So fun.
Especially at Coronet. Not much,
Yeah,
there's,
it's so
Good
good.
stuff out there, eh?
there's not much that can go wrong up there. Well, I mean, there is, but it's a pretty nice, mellow, fun track.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, Connor. It's been really interesting, actually, going from listening about that
Cheers for the yarn.
transition into into slope and free ride and everything, and lots of interesting judging facts too. So that was good.
Yeah, something new for me. So work on
Yeah.
that one.
That's good. Well, to everyone listening, make sure you like, share, subscribe, send it around to your mates, because we don't make any money off this, but maybe one day we will. Who knows? It's just a passion project, really.
Certainly is, unless you're making some money on the side, Kerry.
No, I wish.
What's up?
I come from the land of down on I can't hear you. What was that? I can't hear you. I let it be like John Lennon, the anti-serum that you don't get for poisonous venom. Read the label carefully, I'm only here for the show. I love hip-hop too much to let you feed my ego. In the key of F-U-C-K, Y-O-U. I mean, why do I owe you if you're not helping me through? I mean, why do I owe you if you're obstructing my view? Success is not my castle, just a house that's brand new. You see, I irrigate the culture, give it shape like a sculpture. Still complicated, drop like I'm supposed to. B-L-I-T-Z like my DJ. Rock to the rhythm like you rock to what he plays.